Welcome, everybody, to the NHL Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the NHL Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, NHL beat writer for the Grueling Truth, Sam McGinnis. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good.
Well, if we're doing an NHL Weekly Show, we probably should be talking about the playoffs, right?
Yeah, if it were today, I remember we had my first article was written 1 year ago yesterday, and it was about right before the playoffs started. So we'd be right before the playoffs right now.
But unfortunately, there's no playoffs. So we have to improvise. And today, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the 10 best teams in NHL history. Today, we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to talk about the 10 worst teams in NHL history. Sam, you want to start us off with your number 10?
Yeah, I think my number 10 definitely has to be the 1994-1995 Ottawa Senators. This is a theme you'll find is the Senators just aren't generally good, and they appear more than once on this list for a reason. Their record that year was 9-34-5. This is when ties were still a thing, but to have 34 losses to 9 wins, that's a terrible ratio. Then you get to they had 9 fewer wins than the next team in their division. That team is bad too. Like, that's not even a good team, and they're 9 wins below them.
Yeah, and the other thing about them, because I've got them at number 9 on my 10 worst teams, so I'll go ahead and talk about them now. But you got to remember there was an NHL lockout that season, which cut the Senators short at an all-time futility record.
Yeah, I mean they were shooting for all-time greats and were literally just cut off, and the only reason they're not higher on the list is because of that.
I don't think you mean all-time great, Sam. I think you mean all-time
worst. Pardon me.
Yeah.
But I think another thing to mention here is the goalies' goals against average per game. Here is each goalie's goals against average: 3.53, 3.36, and 4.06. You're a bad goalie if you have like above 3 at all.
Yeah, but are the goalies bad in that case, or is the team so bad that the goalie really doesn't have a chance?
I think the answer is yes. The goalie sucked, and the defense and forwards all sucked, so that didn't help them out. So you already have bad goalies, but then on top of having a bad defense and bad forwards making it in your zone more, it makes it harder for you too.
All right, I'm going to go with the 1928-29 Chicago Blackhawks. And it was only their third year in the league. They went 7-29-8. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part
it's not.
The worst part is they finished with just 33 goals in 44 games. That's the only reason I could put them below. I mean, when I think about this and you look at the stats, I'm wondering how the hell I got them only at number 10. But, I mean, Ty Arbor was their leading assist man. He had 4 assists on the season, Sam.
Yeah, this is funny because I put them at number 9 and I had all those same things written out. That's less than a 1 goal per game average.
Yes, it is.
You're going to have I didn't see how many players had literally 0 points, but there were several that did. That should never happen on any NHL team.
I would think there has to be more than just several, since they only scored 33 goals. There's not a whole lot of opportunity there to get some points, Sam.
Yeah, no, there's not.
All right, so you've got them at number 9. I've got the Ottawa Senators at number 9. So we'll just go ahead. We'll move on to number 8, Sam.
Yeah, my number 8 has to be the 1975-76 Washington Capitals. Despite what we know the Washington Capitals to be today, back in the day when they first came to be in the NHL, they sucked very badly. I think this was their second. It was either their first or second season in, and they went 11-59-10. Now, again, ties were still a thing, but 59 losses to 11 wins, and nobody broke 50 points on the entire roster. They didn't even get a win till the 10th game of the season.
Well, wasn't that the team that finished almost 100 points behind the division champion Montreal Canadiens? And
they were 95 points behind the division leader. Their goalies had a goals against average of 5.11, 5.46, and 4.17. That's bad.
the one good thing out of all of this are the first 3 teams on here were fairly new teams. I mean, you had that Blackhawks team that I talked about. It was their third year. The Senators, it was their third year. The Capitals, I think it was their second year. So you do have that at least. It's when we get to the teams that have been around for a decade or more that do it, then you've really got an issue. But I think you would expect that all 10 teams on this list will be teams that had not been in existence for very long.
Yeah, the majority of them were definitely early on. And I think this is a nice thing the NHL is changing is you'll note the very new team Vegas Golden Knights did very well when they first started out like the St. Louis Blues did. And so I'm sure they're hoping for that with the new Washington team coming in, Washington State, that is. So that's a nice change. But yeah, in the NHL's past, when you first came in, generally you sucked.
Yeah, but that was like that with all sports. I mean, if you look at the NFL,
that is true.
NFL, the 1976 Buccaneers, I mean, they lost their first 26 games. The Seahawks, I think, beat the Buccaneers those first 2 years. That was a couple of their wins. They only had like 5 wins. But I think what we've seen is, and I think this all has to do with money, because before that, 75, 76, you look at the 68 Bengals or the 65, 66 Saints, they were actually, the other owners wanted those teams to be bad because they didn't want the competition right away. But now what we see, I think, is with all the TV money involved, everybody wants everybody to at least be competitive because that jacks up the going rate on TV contracts and things like that.
Yeah, and speaking of TV contract, whoa, where'd you go? Recently, the NHL as a whole. Mike, you good? That wasn't me. What did you do?
Yeah, I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting here. I haven't pushed a button. So the question is what you did. It looks like you're wrapped in a plastic bubble there, Sam. Behind you, you get the plastic and trying to stay safe from the coronavirus.
Hey, might as well go to a bunker.
You don't have one? My bunker is below me. It's get a couple shipping containers and stuff. We're good. I actually stick both my sons down there. They live there all the time, but you know them, so you know why.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to play that back for him too. So Grant will probably be over to see you later after the virus is over. All right, what do you have? What do you have at number 7, Sam?
Number 7, I have the 1972-73 New York Islanders. One of the biggest reasons for this is the number of times they got blown out. They would just get blown out game after game after game. And their minus 177 goal differential. Okay. I thought this year's Red Wings were bad. Their goals, it's not even close to that. And you're talking about the worst team of this year, which is worse than most years. And they blow that out of the water with that statistic. They were 30 points on the season, 58 points out of a playoff spot, and their point percentage was 0.192.
Yeah, but the one thing here is, once again, this is the only team I think that's going to make this list. I'm just guessing, but I think it's the only Islanders team that'll be on your list. And it was their first year in the league. The interesting thing here was Gordie Howe turned down the Hood coaching job. But on top of that, what makes it more interesting, this 72-73, you just get a couple years later, and all of a sudden they're a factor in the playoffs. And within a decade, they go on one of the greatest runs in NHL history.
Absolutely. And again, this is a theme with the NHL where you have the parity like that, where versus you look at early expansion teams in the NFL, that's much harder for them to gain traction quickly.
Well, I mean, what do you think I think the cause of that is probably because even in the mid-70s, the Buccaneers had to fill a roster of 45 to 50 guys. With hockey, you've got to fill a roster of 20 or 21.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get as many players, but that does it does make the competition higher just in general. So where you would have lesser players just because there are more of them in the NFL, because there are less players in the NHL period, it's going to be more competitive.
All right, what do you got at number 6, Sam?
Oh, we haven't gotten to your 7 though.
Man, you don't have to worry about it because so far our list is dang near identical, and all we'll be doing is, well, I've got them at 6 instead of 7, Sam. So let's just roll with it.
All right, at 6, I got another Chicago Blackhawks team, but this is the 1927-28 Chicago Blackhawks. They went 7-34-3. The injuries, I think, were one of the biggest factors when it comes to this run not being successful. And that and a rookie goalie, he was in way over his head at the time. And they gave up 134 goals on the season. The closest in that division to that statistic is 74 goals. If you get a few more goals, you're almost cutting that in half.
Yeah, and the bad thing for Blackhawk fans back then was we've already talked about the 1928-29 Blackhawks. So this is something that continued on into the next year.
Yes, it was the Blackhawks in this period were absolutely atrocious.
No. Things change, though. They became pretty good. All right, what do you got for number 5?
Number 5, you're not going to like me for this one, but I got the 1943-44 New York Rangers. So this is what it takes to make a top 5 right here. They went 6-39-5. That's 17 points in the entire season, by the way. They were outscored by 148 goals. The first 2 and last 2 months had a combined record of 0-25-5. Their top scorer was Brian Hextall, who got 54 points, and nobody else even came close. They also had an incredible amount of losing streaks and winless streaks. The longest losing streak was 11 games. I don't know what the winless streak was, though.
Yeah, but wouldn't you think a lot of this and why this team was that bad probably had something to do with the war? And I know there was a team that won the Stanley Cup that year and teams that did well. But I think just like when you look at baseball and football, there were certain teams that got hit much harder by World War II or any wartime experience than other teams did.
Yeah, that's absolutely a factor. You have when there are big universal changes in the world, that happens in the realm of sports too, because it affects everything.
All right, number 4, Sam.
Number 4, I have the 1980-81 Winnipeg Jets. So they would move out of Winnipeg not long after this. I think it may have been – it wasn't this season, but it was not long after this. They would actually be moving out of Winnipeg. Obviously, the team has been moved back to Winnipeg since this time.
I don't think they moved until the early 90s, though.
I thought it was late 80s. I could be wrong about that.
Kind of the same thing. You said shortly after, though. Late 80s is even 8 or 9 years later.
Anyway, they had 3 different coaches, 9 wins all season, having 57 losses and 14 ties. And here's probably the worst stat you can pull up, is they started the season 1-25-7. That's crazy. To even start that bad, that has got to be on a top 5 worst starts in NHL history, I'm sure of it.
All right. They moved 1999-2000. So I was much closer to being right than you were, Sam, because they were the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yes,
for 12 years until they moved back to Winnipeg. And also, then they had an expansion team. But I mean, didn't they come from the WHA?
Which team?
The Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so it wasn't like they were straight up expansion teams like the others, but still, point taken. What do you got at number 3?
Number 3, we got another Ottawa Senators team, 1992-93 Ottawa Senators this time, though. The thing about this team is they started the expansion draft, but this is probably one of the worst notes, is they tried to get 3 ineligible picks in during their expansion draft. Right. So the sentence after the initial entry draft, during this entry draft, also selected Alexei Yashin. But the thing is, it was so bad in Ottawa, he decided to go back to Russia instead. They lost 38 road games, finally winning 1, and that's all the road games they won the whole season.
Yeah, they were like 1-41 on the road, weren't they?
Yeah, is either that or 1-38. Their overall record was 10-70-4, and a defenseman led their team in scoring, who also managed to have a -46 on the season. That is next level suckage right there.
Suckage. All
I
right.
didn't have a word.
You made one up.
I
What do you
did.
got? What do you got at number 2, Sam?
Number 2, I have the 1992-93 San Jose Sharks. So they set an NHL record for most losses in a season with 71. So the Ottawa Senators have 70, but that same year, the San Jose Sharks had 71, including 17 in a row without a point. 17 in a row without a point. They allowed the most goals of any team in the league. The leading goaltender had a record the leading goaltender, mind you, had a record of 7-26 with a goals against average of 4.11.
That's pretty good.
Maybe if you sliced it in half and gave it to 2 goalies, it would be pretty good.
So what do you got at number 1? Got to be what? The 74-75 Capitals?
Of course, it's the 74-75 Capitals, yes. And I think the greatest quote I love from this is, I don't remember the exact quote, but their GM at one point said something along the lines of, "We're doing something wrong, but I don't know what."
Well, number 1, it was goalies weren't real good for him because wasn't their best goalie had like a more than 5 goals against average?
Yes, it was 5.36 goals against average. Their record was 8-67-5. Their road record was 1-39. The number of goals they had that season was 181. But here's the thing: they gave up 446 goals. 446, and not to mention, of their worst blowouts, they got blown out 12-1 twice, not once. But twice, 12-1. That's not even something you want to happen in a 5 or 10 year span on average, and they did it twice in one season.
Well, I would say it's probably safe to say there's not too many years where you get 12-1 games twice in one season for everybody combined.
Yeah, exactly. So getting 12-1 twice is just, it helps you understand how bad it was for the Washington Capitals at that time. So definitely not the same Capitals we see today.
All right, Sam. So how you been getting your hockey fix right now with no hockey on?
I have been playing a lot of street hockey.
You can't play with other people.
I have not been. I've been practicing a lot.
Play by yourself? Gee.
By myself, yes.
So you win every game, though, right?
Of course.
You ever get in a tie or anything? Have to go to overtime?
I don't know, but sometimes I may have this slight problem of, actually aiming when I shoot.
Okay. Well, why do you worry about it? Because you always get a rebound and make it anyways. There's nobody there.
There's never any rebounds. There's no wall.
Oh, okay.
Street. You miss, it goes down all the way to the end of the street.
Well, then you can't miss. That makes you a better shooter, right?
No, I just miss.
Oh, you just miss?
It depends on how far I am away.
Are you telling your game was full of suckage, Sam?
Yeah, I can safely say it was definitely full of that.
Okay. So you're not going to college to play hockey?
No.
Oh, okay. Have you ever been on a pair of skates?
Rollerblades, yes. Skates, no. I'm going to be changing that this fall, though, assuming they open everything back up.
Well,
at that point,
it'll open up one way or the other. I don't know which way it's going to go. But you've been watching all the classic games on the NHL Network and all them? Have you been watching any of the classic games?
Yeah. I watched. It was the 2008 Penguins versus, I think it was the Sabres Winter Classic that I just got done watching the other day.
Oh, that was the snow game, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had a lot of snow. That was the last year I think I can really say the Red Wings, that was a good year. I missed that year.
Why'd you miss the year?
The Stanley Cup. That was nice.
Yeah, but you said you missed a year.
No, I missed that year.
Oh, you missed that year. All right, I'm a Bengals fan. I missed 1988. That was a lot longer ago, though. You want to tell us what you're up to on The Grilling Truth and where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at SamuelMcG22 on both Instagram and Twitter. I just finished 1 year of working for The Grilling Truth, so you can check out my first article. I posted the link in my Instagram post, I believe. If not, I'll go back and do that. And I've noticed, I looked back at that and I was like, Man, that's some not so great writing right there.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. I can look back at my stuff from 5 years ago and think that. So some people claim that you can look at it now and think that. So what the hell?
It's true.
Really? Thanks, Sam.
I was talking about myself, but you can take that as an offense too, I guess.
Okay, I will then, just because I'm bored because I'm in quarantine.
Yes, we've been here a while, and we're going to be here a lot longer.
You still got to wait and see if they showed a 1980 Olympic hockey game. You've got to see that incomplete.
Yes, I do.
Maybe we could do this. Maybe we could just watch the game and talk. We can call it a game together on here sometime.
Yeah, why not? Let me think about this. You can also find me on Facebook. Same address, and that's all I got.
All right, guys, and remember you can follow me at Grilling Truth on Twitter. Also, you can find the Grilling Truth on Rockfin now, which you sign up $9.99 a month. You get extra content that you can't get on the grillingtruth.com, and you also get content from thousands of other creators. And the good thing is Rockfin's not like YouTube. You don't get censored. You can say what you want, do what you want. People will leave you alone instead of demonetizing you the way they will on YouTube. And you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for now, for Sam McGinnis, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.
I'm thinking about it.